everyone. It is Sunday, January 19th. And wow, what a set of games yesterday. I think overall a lot more interesting than what we had on Friday night. Um, yeah, everything was kind of out of reach. We did have one game as such, or a couple of games as such, but a lot of the games were a lot closer. Um, all right, so starting off our board, highlighting a couple games I did not watch. Um, I was at the Binghamton game, but I had my screens in front of me. Had a couple of screens, so I was able to check in some of the other action. Carolina and uh, Blue Ridge, back end of a home and home. And while I did predict that there will be a split this weekend, um, I can't technically say that I predicted that right because I said I thought the home teams were going to win both games. It was the opposite. It was the Road Warriors that pulled out the win, and this time Carolina avenges a defeat. On Friday, and they come home with a 4-1 win. They're able to maintain their hold on first place in the Continental Division. We had Mario Cavallari stopping 24 of 25, while Verastic saved 28 on the night, but wasn't enough. We had Salutin scoring on his old team. Of course, Salutin got traded um, indirectly from the Bobcats to Carolina. He got flipped along the way, so I believe he was traded to Monroe, and then Monroe flipped him. But anyway, Nate Keeley scores a shorthanded goal, 8:33 of the first period. At that point, it was 2-1. That was all Carolina needed, but they had a couple of others as well. Two goals by Nate Keeley, and Salutin a goal and an assist on the night. So shots on goal were 12-7 Carolina in the first, 12-8 in the second, and then Blue Ridge got 10 shots compared to 8 in the third. A crowd of 1771 on hand. A lot of those Carolina faithful that traveled up I-77 to cheer on their home team, and so they have a happy trip. So Carolina now 18-6-3, and the Blue Ridge Bobcats are 15-10-3. What a heartbreaker. I watched the third period, and again, just heart-wrenching. Dashers were up 4-3 in the third period, and then Juwan Davis gets a double minor for high stick, and play-by-play announcer Devin Dobik said, "This is disastrous." Spoke prophetic. The Bobcats, the Zydeco end up scoring on both ends of the minor, including the game winner by Narek Alexanian at 13:58 of the third. And there you go. Dashers have now tied the Battle Creek Rumblebees for the second longest losing streak in pro hockey history. 24 games now. And just a real heartbreaker. Couple of empty netters at the end made this look a lot worse than it was. But the Dashers were playing a very competitive game. I dare say, even though they were outshot in the first, I dare say that the Dashers got the better opportunities in the first maybe 30 minutes of the game. And they were in it until that double minor. And no, I'm not blaming Juwan Davis. It's the way this year has gone. So yeah, Brendan Colgan ends up with a win, 31 saves on 35 shots. Parker Rutherford, he did his part. He saved 53 out of 58. But yeah, it just wasn't enough. And it was one of the better crowds of the year too on hand. And 819 hoping that the Dashers could break the streak. Um, at least they were competitive in this game. That was good to see. But yeah, what a heartbreaker. 18-11 was the shots in favor of I'm sorry. Yeah, I am looking for right notes. 18-11 was the shots for the Zydeco in the first, 22-12 in the second, and 20-12 in the third. It was really tough. The Dashers are down to 4 defensemen, and then they lost the defenseman halfway through the game. So you're trying to rotate out 3. You get real tired real quick when you're putting in 40 minutes of on ice time in a game. So yeah, Dashers now 123-3. The Zydeco improved to 19-7-4. And then this game, Athens ends up with the sweep. Moccasins just can't muster quite enough. They played more competitively than they did on Friday, but ultimately it is an Athens win. Rosenzweig gets the win for the Athens Rock Lobsters. He did get a delay of game penalty for the constant kicking the net off the mountings, which I mean that's a twofold problem. That is you're coached to play that way, to constantly kick against the pegs or against the posts, and second, you need a better mounting system in the arena there. So it's a twofold problem. But anyway, yes, Athens with a 6-4 victory. Is Philippe Virgili getting the goal, the power play goal, which wins it at 2:56 of the third. Sean Kuhn, 25 saves on the night. Good crowd, 48-83. The second biggest crowd of the night. Shots on goal, 6 for Athens in the first, 14 for Monroe. So they were continuing to get opportunities. But then in the second, Athens explodes for 3 goals and outshoots Monroe 14-8. And then in the third, it was 12-11 in favor of Monroe. So, yeah, Kyle Heitzner gets 2 goals and an assist for the Moccasins, while Scotty Koash had 3 assists. For the Rock Lobsters, it's Garrett Milan. Yeah, he's going to be one of the stars of the week. 3 assists. And Brandon Picard, a goal and 2 assists as well. So there we go. Let's change boards. All right, so the first game of the night actually began in Port Huron, Mississippi, there for the second of a 2-game weekend set. And so Port Huron, they hold on. This game really wasn't close. This was one of the games that was out of the reach, kind of like the Carolina Blue Ridge game. This was the other one. Mississippi scores quickly. It's Philip Wong getting a puck past Yoshi Kuriowa. But Kuroi, I can never say. He's Yoshi. My apologies. Kuroiwa, Will Wiggleman, you're my only hope. All right, he's got it down pat because he sees him every day. All right, so Philip Wong scores 135, and Mississippi gets on the board quickly. They scored the first goal in the game on Friday night as well, but Port Huron storms back. And it's Jamie Bussell scoring at 441. He had a very good game until he got hurt. Hopefully he's not injured too badly, but he did miss the latter half of the game with a pretty big injury. It looked like something with a leg. Not really sure. Austin Federle scores at 12:27 to put the Prowlers up for good. So Sam Bessa scored on twice in the period. Federle's goal was in the second period at 12:27. We had a late goal, but it wasn't a goal. Everybody's wondering, why was the goal in Mississippi disallowed? Apparently, someone from the stands, from the bench, the team bench, we believe it was Brendan Hussey, but not totally sure on that. Tossed a stick on the ice. unhappy with some non-calls by the officials, and so the goal is waved off because it was determined that a stick was thrown onto the ice before the puck crossed the line. Uh, then we have penalties. We had an ejection. So yeah, as Ross Bartlett ends up getting tossed. So at this point, it's 2-1. It's getting late. Matt Graham scores at 17:23 on the power play. That's the game-winning goal. Sam Best is pulled for the extra attacker. 18-18. It's Graham again. Empty net goal, shorthanded this time. So there you go. And then just to close out the game, Sam Turner does get on the board with 11 seconds left. An extra attacker goal, but at that point, the outcome was pretty much decided. So Port Huron wins. It is their fourth win in a row. They are now 16-12-3. It's a 4-2 win. Mississippi falls to 5-23-3. And a couple takeaways from the game. First of all, Matt Graham is now at 498 career Fed points. Congratulations to him. He's getting very close to that 500 milestone, which he will be only the fourth player in Fed history to reach 500 points. And guess what? The Watertown Wolves are no longer in second place. That position belongs to the Port Huron Prowlers because the Wolves, in spite of playing an absolutely dynamic game for 45 minutes, end up falling in kind of a heartbreaker for them, 4-2 to the Binghamton Black Bears. I was in the press box watching the game, and I made several comments to a couple people around me. I said, this is the forechecking that the Watertown Wolves played for the first 45 minutes was phenomenal. Always people in the right positions. Binghamton just could not manage many quality shots. They did get a few in the first period, and then when they did get good shots, Anton Borodkin comes up big. The shots in the first period, 20 shots for Binghamton. I'd say 7 of them were grade A opportunities, and Borodkin stopped them. The other 13, more perimeter shots, because that was, for the most part, all that Binghamton could get for about 45 minutes until they were able to get past the aggressive forecheck that Watertown played so well. So let's start back. Let's go back. First period, no scoring. Again, Borodkin, fantastic. On the other end, Nolan Egbert, 9 saves, wasn't tested too badly in the first period. Did come up with a nice kind of back of the legs. It wasn't a scorpion save, but it was kind of a spread out kind of back of the leg darts out and stops the puck from going in. But so nothing in the first. In the second period, Watertown gets on the board on the power play. It's Trevor Newman scoring. That's at 7:24. So Watertown is ahead 1-0. And again, their defensive play was really stifling any quality chances in that second period for Binghamton. Shots are 14-7 in favor of Binghamton in the second period, but it wasn't anything that you could really hang your hats on. Hey, we got 14 shots on Borodkin. Borodkin had to make, I think, one good save, one really big save in the second. Really, everything else was pretty routine. He stood tall. In the third period, finally, it's 8:34, and it's CJ Stubbs. Stubbs had kind of a tough game earlier. Was just having some stick handling issues up to this point. But he ends up on a breakaway, shorthanded goal. This is Binghamton's 11th shorthanded goal scored. It's 8:34 of the third period. It's tied up at 1. We're beginning to think, Well, we're probably in for an overtime game, maybe. But at 15:54, Stubbs scores again. A little confidence back, with that first shorthanded goal. So he scores again, and Binghamton is up 2-1. And now the Binghamton crowd, the sellout crowd, is feeling pretty good. But Carter Thornton scores on a 2-on-1 break. It was a textbook 2-on-1 rush. Wolves played it perfectly, and so at that point, it's 17-17. Now it's 2-2. Um, quick response, relatively. There was a lot of goals right in the latter half of the third period. It is Josh Fletcher finally getting the monkey off of his back, getting his first of the year, 18:47, and that's going to end up being the game winner because just a few seconds later, it's Cameron Clark scoring on a 1-0 breakaway, 19:01. That puts the game away 4-2 in favor of the Binghamton Black Bears. They improved to 25-4-1. And now the person in their rearview mirror is the Port Huron Prowlers. Watertown Wolves, they slipped to third place, 16-11-1. Final shots for the game, 58-27. Shots in the third period, 24 for Binghamton. They just really ramped it up. Once they were able to crack that aggressive forecheck system that the Wolves played so well, again, for the first 45 minutes, they just poured on the shots. So Nolan Egbert gets the win, stopping 25-27. Borodkin, he does everything he can basically, and 54 saves. It's not enough. He's in good company. You got Rutherford making 53 saves for the Prowlers, and then we get to our final game. Boy, talk about you just can't win. Rico Gonzalez, fantastic game. 56 saves on the night and comes away with an L. Just amazing. So yeah, not a whole lot to talk about in this game. It was a wide open game, lots of shots by both teams. The first period, decidedly Danbury, 18-10 in the shots. But then in the second, it's 20-17. In the third, it's 19-17. The only person to be able to find the twine, it's Dylan Hullaby, who has had quite an impact since getting traded from the Monroe Moccasins. He's been a little spark plug for the Danbury Hat-Tricks, and he gets the goal of the game at 6:53 of the second period. Again, Gonzalez, fantastic, as was Connor McCollum. McCollum had been on the short end of a shutout 3 times this year. No, not today. This time he was on the right end. He stops 44 out of 44. And this was also a very physical game. Even though it was wide open with a lot of shots, it was a very gritty, physical game. Not really a whole lot of penalties called, though. It wasn't like there was a constant parade to the sin bin. And a questionable scruffle in the third period as far as how the officials may or may not have handled it. But nonetheless, yeah, so Danbury solidifies their hold on fourth place. They win 1-0. It's 13-10-5. That's what their record is now. Motor City 11-16-2. They've dropped 3 in a row now. They've got to kind of figure things out. Again, Rico couldn't have played things much better. I mean, you save 56 of 57. He's having a phenomenal year. He's just not getting a whole lot of goal support. And again, facing this many shots this time. I mean, Gonzalez, I believe this is the 6th time this year that he has saved at least 50. I'm going to have to double check that, but I believe it's his 6th game with 50 or more saves. So Gonzalez is not the reason that the Rockers have a sub 500 record. So anyway, there we go. That is the wrap up. Today there is one game, 3 o'clock in Poughkeepsie at McCann Arena. The Hudson Valley Venom will be hosting the Binghamton Black Bears, who, I mean, their game went late. They had a jersey auction at the end of the game, so they've got a quick turnaround where they've got to, get a few hours of sleep, wake up, get on the bus, head to Poughkeepsie before the snow starts flying, and play a 3 o'clock game. So that is the only game on the docket for today. All right, I am Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you to all of you who tuned in to the Facebook Live video. I apologize that the audio quality wasn't great. We did have the microphones, but they just picked up so much ambient noise. We'll figure out how to do things better next time and go to do an interview. All right, make sure you're following me here on YouTube, on Facebook, and on the Flash Audio Network. We will have a short video tomorrow. Quick game recap plus stars and standings. Very interesting. Actually, standings, no. We'll leave standings out of it. I will post a picture later on today of standings on Facebook. So look for that there. But we will cover the stars of the week as well as a game review. Thank you for joining me. I'm Gary Ryan once again for the Fed League Flash. Have yourselves a wonderful week ahead.